Imagine paying a complete stranger, like someone you don't even know, to just ride a bicycle for you.
Right.
You aren't riding with them, you aren't hanging out, but you are literally paying them to go sweat, to push up some grueling hill, and to record that effort on their GPS device.
Oh, yeah. And also they can send you the file.
Exactly. They send you the file, and then you upload it to your own social media profile just to trick your friends into thinking you are like this absolute machine. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tearing into the true cost, the actual value, and the hidden psychology of the endurance athlete's digital home.
Yeah, that scenario you just described sounds like pure science fiction, but it's actually happening right now. And we have a fascinating stack of sources to go through today.
So we really do.
We're looking at furious conservationists, deeply confessional blog posts, former professional athletes, and, academic sociologists. All of them are trying to decode what happens when you take the simple act of going for a run or a ride and turn it into this globally broadcast data stream.
It's wild. And to really understand this, we have to start with a brilliant, wry little 30-day curiosity experiment. This was conducted by the author of the 5K Runner.
Oh, yeah, that piece.
Right. And if you follow endurance tech at all, this author is arguably the exact demographic this platform is built for. I mean, we are talking 12 years on the platform, over 3,000 activities logged, age group international records.
By all conventional measures, an absolute power user.
Exactly. But he decided to test a theory. He quit consuming the feed for a full month.
Just went totally dark on the social side.
Yeah. He left his auto uploads on, so his watch was still, beaming his workouts up to the cloud. But he completely stopped scrolling, stopped giving kudos, stopped commenting entirely.
And his verdict at the end of those 30 days is just, it's the ultimate reality check. Because nobody noticed he was gone.
Not a single person.
0 people reached out to ask where he went. His friends, his training partners, they all just kept right on scrolling and posting without him.
And he didn't crack emotionally either. Like, his enjoyment of his own training didn't drop a single fraction. He walked away from the 30 days highly skeptical of this overarching narrative we always hear, that these fitness platforms are inherently addictive.
Yeah, he was completely unbothered.
It kind of makes you realize that leaving your auto uploads on but never actually checking the app, it's like leaving a cardboard cutout of yourself at a crowded party.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. You just walk away, you look back through the window, and you realize all your friends are perfectly happy just standing there chatting to the cardboard.
Yeah, they don't even need you there. The social interactions for the author of the 5K Runner were entirely asymmetrical. I mean, he realized he didn't actually need the platform to enjoy the sport.
Not at all.
But this sets up the central tension of our deep dive today. Because when we look at the other sources in our stack, we see what happens when someone else runs that exact same 30-day unplugged experiment, but the psychological wheels completely fall off.
Yeah, because clearly not everyone has the emotional armor of the 5K runner.
No, far from it. And that brings us to Cy Richardson from the Global Cycling Network, or GCN.
Right, the GCN guy.
Exactly. Cy is a former professional cyclist, and like our anchor source, he has logged nearly 3,000 activities. He's spent over 270,000 kilometers in the saddle.
Which is just an insane amount of time.
It really is. So in a very public piece of cycling media, he decided to run the exact same 30-day cold turkey experiment. But unlike our first guy, Cy cracked.
He totally cracked.
And he cracked under incredibly revealing circumstances.
Yeah, he suffered a DNF. I did not finish in a race. But we have to clarify the context here for you, because this wasn't like a major international grand tour with corporate sponsors watching.
Oh, no, not at all.
This was a highly unofficial, friendly mates race, just a weekend ride with his buddies.
Yeah, he literally just got a puncture, a simple flat tire. And in that moment of so-called failure, standing by the side of the road with his friends, Cy felt this overwhelming, intense compulsion to go home, fire up his laptop, and upload the incomplete, broken ride to his profile.
It's so visceral.
He confessed that he needed to do it purely to prove to his broader digital audience that he was actually there, and to proactively defend himself against the assumption that he had just gotten unfit and dropped out.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because his actual physical friends were standing right next to him on the road.
Yeah, they were right there.
They physically saw the flat tire. So are we really using these applications to track our physiological fitness? Or have we just built a digital PR firm for our own fragile egos?
You've hit on the core sociological engine of the whole platform. This behavior, it ties directly into sociologist Irving Goffman's concept of the presentation of self.
Oh, I love this theory.
All right, so back in the 1950s, Goffman theorized that human beings constantly behave like actors on a stage. We are meticulously managing the impressions that other people have of us.
Constantly curating.
Exactly. And when you translate Goffman's theory to modern GPS data, that impression management takes the form of ride titles and carefully crafted descriptions.
Oh man, every single person listening to this knows the defensive ride title.
Oh, 100%.
You know exactly what I mean. You go out, your legs feel heavy, your pace is just slow, and instead of just letting the data speak for itself, you have to title the upload.
You can't just leave it as morning ride.
No, you change it to, like, recovery pace today, or zone 2, aka I'm actually much faster than this, but I'm being super disciplined.
Yeah, we are putting on a stage play for an audience of amateur athletes. We give them all these justifications so they don't judge our resting heart rate harshly. And Cy Richardson realized he was caught in that exact performative loop.
He wasn't uploading data?
No, he was uploading a defense attorney's opening statement to manage his digital impression.
It's so true. And Cy actually pushed the boundaries of his own experiment. He took a psychological test live on camera to figure out why he felt this compulsion.
Yeah, he took the IA Netherlands social comparison orientation measure.
Which sounds very intense.
It is. It's a real academic tool. It's designed to evaluate how strongly an individual is driven to evaluate their own worth by comparing themselves to others.
And he thought he'd do fine, right?
Oh, Cy went into this assuming he was totally resilient. I mean, he's an ex-pro. He thought he was above the fray, but he scored shockingly high.
Wow.
Yeah, he discovered he is deeply, almost structurally affected by the constant exposure to the carefully curated fitness displays of everyone else.
That live realization totally mirrors the most emotional confessional voice we found in our sources.
Oh, the blog post.
Yes. We read this deeply reflective piece from an athlete out in Denver. They had been paying for a premium membership for 5 years before abruptly pulling the plug.
Just completely quit.
Completely. Because they realized they were compulsively checking their phone for kudos multiple times a day. And think about how sad that mechanism actually is.
It's raw.
They had taken running, which is an activity that historically provided them with deep internal peace and validation, and they essentially outsourced all of that validation to a digital slot machine.
Yeah, and the scary part is that confessional voice is not an outlier. The academic data we reviewed provides a very sober reality check here.
What were those numbers again?
So Dr. Josephine Perry and a major study from Society looked into this behavior. And they found that 39.6% of cyclists and an astonishing 44.7% of endurance athletes overall are actively at risk of exercise addiction fueled by these specific technologies.
Wait, almost half of all endurance athletes are redlining into addiction.
Yep, nearly half.
How does a simple map and a stopwatch app neurologically push someone into an addiction loop like that?
Well, the academic literature points to a highly toxic psychological cocktail. It's high social comparison orientation combined with low self-compassion.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. When you blend those two traits, the platform stops being a neutral tool and becomes a taskmaster. Here's exactly how the mechanism works. Say you have a perfectly calibrated 30-mile training plan designed by a coach.
A smart, healthy plan.
Right. You open your feed and you see a rival just completed a 50-mile epic with all these beautiful mountain photos. Your low self-compassion triggers instantly. Suddenly, your healthy plan feels totally inadequate.
So you panic.
You second-guess your coach, you push through a nagging knee pain to add 20 miles you weren't prepared for, you get injured, and then you label yourself a failure. All because you couldn't match a digital highlight reel.
It basically transforms a peaceful Sunday morning trail run into a global press conference.
A press conference, yes.
You know, you finish your run, and instead of just drinking some water and stretching and feeling good about yourself, you are standing at a podium desperately waiting for the anonymous critics' reviews to roll in via push notifications.
You entirely lose sight of your physical reality because the digital feedback loop is just deafening.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the drive for that digital status doesn't just stop at personal anxiety.
Oh, it goes so much further.
The desperation to win the press conference pushes people into the most bizarre, absurd extremes imaginable.
Right, where we see the reality of the data become completely decoupled from physical truth.
Exactly. Circling back to the author of The 5K Runner, he points out a colorful detail even on his own profile. He has these impossibly fast best efforts sitting right there in his data history.
Just physically impossible time?
Yeah, they are essentially GPS glitches, like moments where the satellite bounced and thought he ran a 2-minute mile, but they just sit there on the profile like permanent trophies, highlighting how entirely skewed this digital reality can become.
But a glitch is just an accident. What people are doing intentionally is wild.
Right. Which brings us back to the wild concept you brought up earlier.
Yeah, this is where we have to unpack the phenomenon of Strava mules or Strava jockeys.
I am genuinely still struggling to comprehend the underground economy of this. Like, people actually do this.
Yes, there is a literal marketplace where people pay a faster, stronger rider to physically carry their GPS device or to record an activity on a secondary device on their behalf.
That is insane.
The slower rider then takes that file, uploads it to their own profile, and claims the physical achievement as their own. They are literally purchasing a fabricated ideal to present to their followers.
I mean, paying someone to sweat for you so you can collect a digital thumbs up is, well, it's pathetic on a personal level.
It is.
But zooming out, that fake ideal causes massive collateral damage to the community.
It creates a totally toxic feedback loop. Unwitting users are scrolling through their feeds, looking at what they assume are genuine human achievement.
Right, they think it's real.
And they compare their own real, gritty, hard-fought workouts to the physically impossible times of a paid stunt double. And as we saw in the society data, that impossible comparison is exactly what drives the unwitting user to second-guess their training and risk injury trying to chase a literal ghost.
Wow. But you know, if all of this was just contained to our screens, just this weird, slightly sad game of digital status and fake finish lines, you could argue it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But the digital heat generated by this platform is actually spilling over and burning the physical world.
Yeah, the consequences actually leave the server rack and enter our actual neighborhoods and forests.
Let's examine the safety angle first, because this was seriously alarmed me. We have a perspective from the author of the blog Coffee Run Repeat.
Right, the ultra runner.
Yeah, she is a mother and an ultra runner, and she went into her account to audit her data and had a terrifying realization. So the platform has a feature called privacy zones.
Right, which are supposed to keep you safe.
Supposed to. They're designed to hide the start and end points of a run so strangers can't triangulate exactly where your house or your workplace is. She had set these up, but the mechanism completely failed her.
Her start and end points from past runs were still publicly visible. It completely bypassed the digital shield she thought she had erected.
It exposed the exact location of her children's school to anyone on the internet who cared to look.
That is horrifying.
Her reaction was instantaneous. She deleted her account entirely. The visceral feeling of being tracked, of trusting a privacy setting that proved hollow, was way too Black Mirror for her.
And moving from personal safety to environmental devastation, we have a very angry, urgent voice in our stack from the conservationists at Dirty Freehub.
Oh, the gravel riding group.
Yeah, they focus on gravel riding, and they are sounding the alarm on the physical destruction caused by the platform's heat maps.
Right, and for anyone listening who hasn't seen one, a heat map aggregates the GPS data of every user in the world and overlays it on a map as this glowing line. The more people ride a specific trail, the hotter or brighter red the line gets on the screen.
Right. And the mechanical flaw here is that those glowing heat maps persist in the system for 2 full years.
2 years.
Yes. And Dirty Freehub highlights a devastating example of why that's a problem. The CI Wimp Out Road in the Phil's Trail Network out in Oregon.
Okay.
The Forest Service intentionally and completely decommissioned this road. They blocked it off to reestablish a critical wildlife corridor so animals could safely migrate.
But because the digital heat map was still glowing bright red on the app from 2 years of historical data, rogue riders simply followed the glowing line on their handlebars.
Exactly. In just 6 weeks, the constant stream of riders blindly following the digital ghost completely rebuilt the trail.
6 weeks.
The entire physical conservation effort was destroyed by a 2-year-old digital echo.
That is wild. They also detail tourists completely ignoring elk fawn enclosures, which are highly sensitive protected areas closed off specifically so wildlife can give birth in peace.
Right, you're not supposed to be anywhere near there.
But riders blow right past the physical closure signs because the digital route on their screen is marked as a hot segment. But, I mean, I have to push back on the tech here for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we seriously blaming a software algorithm for an adult human being physically riding their bicycle past a giant wooden trail closed sign? Haven't we just lost our own common sense at that point?
Well, it is easy to blame the user, but the psychological conditioning of the interface is profound.
How so?
As Cy Richardson's academic experts pointed out, the digital representation is actively overwriting physical reality in real time. Riders confess to making arbitrary, dangerous turns they never intended to make simply because they are premeditating how cool the geographic shape of the map will look when they upload it later.
Oh, like GPS art.
Yeah. And when you are operating in that state of impression management, the physical trail closed sign doesn't even register in your visual cortex. The glowing line on the screen is your primary reality.
That is terrifying. Which brings us to the ultimate question of this entire deep dive.
Let's hear it.
If this specific app causes profound social anxiety, creates dangerous privacy breaches, and drives people to literally destroy wildlife corridors, is Strava itself the root of the problem?
To answer that, we have to circle all the way back to the wry perspective of our anchor source, the 5K runner.
Right.
Because he argues something highly counterintuitive. He believes the true engagement problem, the actual behavioral addiction, isn't the social feed of the app at all.
He points the finger directly at the hardware, doesn't he?
He does. According to his analysis, the social app is just the ecosystem choke point. It's just a dumb pipe for the data. The real addiction, the true mechanism of behavioral control, sits strapped to your wrist. Yeah. It's your Garmin, your Wahoo, your Apple Watch. It's the proprietary metrics they feed you the second you wake up, like body battery and training readiness.
Think about how insidious that is, though. You wake up on a Saturday, the sun is shining, and physically you feel great. You are ready to go for a run.
You're excited.
Yeah. Then you look at your watch, and the watch analyzes your heart rate variability and your sleep stages, and it flashes this red screen telling you your body battery is at 20%.
And instantly, your brain overrides your physical sensation, and you decide you are exhausted.
The device dictates your physical capability before your foot even hits the floor. The hardware is acting as the puppet master of your central nervous system.
It's exactly like having a hyper-analytical digital parent who decides if you are allowed to go outside and play today.
Yes.
The app is really just the public bulletin board where we staple the results for our friends to judge. If you delete the bulletin board, the puppet master is still strapped to your wrist, harvesting your biometric data and telling you how to feel.
Recognizing where the real power lies completely shifts how our reformed athletes navigate this technology.
It changes everything.
Because when Cy Richardson finally returned to the platform after his 30-day detox, he didn't quit endurance sports, but he implemented strict new rules of engagement. And his most powerful change, he completely disabled his auto-upload feature.
Basically breaking the slot machine lever.
Precisely. Now, when he finishes a grueling ride, the data just sits silently on his device. He intentionally delays uploading the files for several days to completely break that toxic instant gratification loop.
He feels the physical achievement first and lets the digital validation become a total afterthought.
He took the power back from the algorithm.
It makes me wonder if we both try this exact same 30-day unplugged experiment, how would we actually fare? If you turned off your feed for a month, what is your genuine prediction?
Honestly, I would genuinely miss the performance art of it all. I do. I love reading the witty ride titles and the absurd defensive excuses people come up with for a slow Tuesday jog. It's entertaining, but I would fiercely love the lack of pressure.
Oh, definitely.
The idea of just going out into the woods, doing the hard physical work, and letting it vanish into the air instead of cementing it permanently on a server farm somewhere. That sounds incredibly liberating.
I agree with that.
What about you? Where would you land?
Well, if I am being completely honest with myself, I would feel disorganized without the chronological data log. I deeply value having a searchable archive of my physical history and mileage.
You like the data.
I do. But the overwhelming relief of escaping the social comparison, of never again worrying if my pace per mile looks embarrassingly slow to a former colleague who happens to follow me, that would vastly outweigh the loss of the data visualization. I would absolutely adopt Cy's method. No auto-sync, heavily delayed uploads.
Which brings it all the way back to the final verdict of the 5K runner.
Yes, his conclusion remains the most grounded perspective in our entire stack.
For sure.
After 30 days of silence, he realized he is simply not the target user for this ecosystem.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the manufactured rivalries, he doesn't crave the digital kudos, and he fundamentally doesn't need a public searchable ledger of every time he sweats.
He just doesn't care.
The platform serves people who have those psychological needs, and he concluded that is perfectly fine. But recognizing that he wasn't one of them gave him total unapologetic peace.
He just kept on pedaling his bike, completely unbothered by the cardboard cutout he left behind at the party.
Exactly. Building on everything we've unpacked today, I want to leave you with a challenge for your next workout.
Oh, I like this.
The next time you finish a grueling, beautiful run or ride, try waiting just 1 full hour before you look at the data or sync your watch to the cloud. Just sit with the physical exhaustion. And in that 60 minutes of silence, ask yourself a very simple question.
What's the question?
Who does this workout actually belong to, you or the algorithm?
That is a brilliant challenge, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you are the one actually attending the party of your own life. Keep pedaling, everyone. We'll see you on the next deep dive.